The Curious Mind.
You hear about the US and Iran in the news all the time, right? It feels like they've just always been enemies. But you know what? It wasn't always this way. To really get what's happening today, we have to go back and look at a few key moments that changed everything.
So why do America and Iran seem to hate each other so much? It's a huge question, and it's tangled up in pretty much every major conflict in the Middle East. Is this all just about politics and power? Or is there something deeper, something historic going on here?
Well, it's way more than just simple hate. This whole thing is really a story defined by three major pivot points. And if you understand these three moments, you'll understand pretty much everything that's happened since.
And our story starts right here, in 1953, with what a lot of Iranians call the original sin, the one act that really poisoned the well from the very beginning. Okay, so picture this. It's the early 1950s. Iran actually has a democratically elected prime minister, a guy named Mohammad Mossadegh. He's a total national hero because he does something huge. He nationalizes Iran's oil industry, basically taking it back from the British. But this makes London and Washington really nervous. It's the Cold War, and they're terrified he might get too cozy with the Soviets. So what do? The CIA and MI6 team up, orchestrate a coup called Operation Ajax, and just kick him out. And in his place, they install the Shah, a guy who becomes an absolute monarch, totally loyal to the West.
For generations of Iranians, this was a massive, massive betrayal. I mean, think about it. The United States, this country they saw as a symbol of freedom, suddenly looks like just another imperialist meddler. That feeling of mistrust, it never went away. It became the foundation for literally everything that came next.
And that one event, that original sin, lit a very long fuse. A fuse that would finally explode about 25 years later in the next massive turning point in our story. So for the next quarter century, the Shah is America's guy in the region. And look, he does modernize Iran in a lot of ways, but he's also a brutal dictator. He rules with an iron fist, using this terrifying secret police force to crush anyone who disagrees with him. By 1979, well, the Iranian people had just had enough. The whole country just boiled over into revolution.
And what happened next is summed up by one number. A number that is just burned into the American consciousness. 444. 444 days. That's how long 52 American diplomats and citizens were held hostage after Iranian students stormed the US embassy in Tehran. For people in the US, this was this shocking, traumatic event that completely defined how they saw Iran's new revolutionary government. The whiplash here is just incredible. One minute, Iran is America's policeman in the Persian Gulf, their key partner. The next, after the hostage crisis, Iran's new leader is calling America the Great Satan. This wasn't just a breakup, it was a total, bitter divorce. And the 1980s just made everything worse. When Iraq invaded Iran, who did the US back? Saddam Hussein. Yeah, even when he was using chemical weapons on Iranians. So what does Iran do? It starts exporting its revolution. It starts backing militant groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, the same group that was behind the horrific 1983 bombing of the US Marine barracks in Beirut. You can see the cycle, right? This deadly tit-for-tat of proxy violence was officially underway. Okay, so that brings us to the modern era, where all that bad blood from the past has turned into a really dangerous, high-stakes geopolitical standoff.
And in this century, the flashpoint has really been Iran's nuclear program. For a second there, it looked like there was a way out. In 2015, this big deal was signed. You probably remember it, the JCPOA, or the Iran nuclear deal. The idea was simple. Iran limits its nuclear program, and in exchange, the world lifts these crushing economic sanctions. It felt like a real breakthrough. But then, just 3 years later, the US walked away from the deal and slammed all those sanctions back on, even harder, in a campaign they called maximum pressure. So today, the conflict plays out as a kind of regional Cold War. Iran has built what it calls its axis of resistance, this whole network of allies and proxy groups all over the Middle East. You've got Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen, and powerful militias in Iraq. For Iran, this is how they project power. But for the US and its allies, they see this as straight-up state-sponsored terror that's making the whole region a tinderbox.
And let's not forget just how close we've come to the edge. I mean, back in 2020, when the US assassinated Iran's top general, Qasem Soleimani, a lot of people thought that was it. That direct war was about to break out. It was the closest they had been in decades. So after all that, what's the crucial takeaway? It's this. This entire decades-long conflict is running on the fuel of two totally different, totally irreconcilable stories about the exact same events. This is really the heart of the matter. Let's break it down. The US looks at the 1953 coup and says, a necessary Cold War move. Iran looks at it and says, you stole our democracy. The US remembers 1979 as an illegal hostage crisis. Iran remembers it as liberation from a US-backed dictator. Washington sees a nuclear threat and a state sponsor of terror. Tehran sees a sovereign right and a defense against American encirclement. You see, they're not just disagreeing, they are living in fundamentally different realities.
And that leaves us with a really tough question, doesn't it? When history itself is the battleground, when the fight is over the story of who's the victim and who's the aggressor, can there ever really be a truce? How do you even start to build a bridge between two realities that don't touch? That, right there, is the fundamental challenge at the very core of one of the world's most dangerous rivalries.
The Curious Mind.